after our processing, we're kind of getting further with the vocal now as far as kind of polishing it up, right? But there's still so much possibilities as far as making the vocal more unique, layering it out. I treat vocals exactly the same way as I treat a synth. The same way, you can't really sound design, vocal realistically. They're singing it, so there's only so much you can do. But as far as the layering and back end and kind of harmony, you can kind of have fun with it, guys. So really get creative in this section. You can see we got a couple layers from our vocalist. Now, again, this is from our sample pack. So make sure if you're working with a vocal, writer and vocalist, again, as I said earlier, just try to get a little bit more material so you guys can have the flexibility and you guys can kind of get into what we're doing here. So I have a layer that, of course, I'm going to kind of do the same quick idea with Melodyne that we touched on earlier. I just want to make sure this is all in key. Quickly get that done.
I can't keep it.
And let's make that straight on. And I'm going to process this through.
I can't keep it lying to myself. I don't want you. I need you. Nobody else.
So she's singing it slightly different, which is what you want in a layer. So make sure working your vocalist, you want them to sing maybe a high, mid, again, the same idea you're doing with a synth, different octaves and high, mid, low, and etc. You guys need to get creative with this. But first and foremost, we need this in key. So let's quickly do this.
I can't keep it lying to myself. I don't want you. I need you. Nobody else.
Now with what we talked about earlier with modulation, you can kind of get away with it a little more on a layer like this. Kind of making it more robotic, very subtle, but more robotic, because it's not going to be our lead front layer. It's going to be our left and right width layer, kind of giving a little bit more harmonics to it. So keep that in mind. So let's now bounce this down as we did earlier. And I'm not going to use what she had here, although it's great. I don't need to use it in this example. Let's now bounce this in place. Same idea we did earlier. Now we have our tuned ready to go. Now I'm really going to focus on placing this, mixing this. We have our layer that we just went to town on with processing. Now we need to double this up, and I need to put one left and right. So hard right, bring it down, hard left. Now this is already kind of panned a little bit from the vocalist and how she did it with her producer. It is panned a little bit. We can get away with giving it a little more width with this hard pan. Now when we are doing this, and I'm just going to name this the same thing, when we're doing this, we want to really mix this low. We don't want this to be the main layer. All that stuff we just did with the processing, the tuning, balancing, the busing and sending, that is the front of the vocal. Nothing else should be coming too far forward in the mix. So with that being said, let's grab both of the faders. I'm going to start them very low, and I start to bring them up really slow until I feel that dramatic change of width in the vocal.
I can't keep it lying to myself. I don't want you. I need you. Nobody else. I can't keep it lying.
See how that little bit of width is going on? That's exactly what we want. Do not push these too much further. Now you guys can see my faders lower on my lead, but that's not technically true. It's because we put so much processing on that we need to back off the mixer. So really find that balance with your ears and trust what's going on. I'm going to put the same exact compressor from the 2A that we used. I'm going to balance that out on top, both layers.
I can't keep it lying to my.
Now we want to bring it down.
I can't keep it lying. I can't keep it lying to myself. I don't want you. I need you. No.
I'm looking for about -2. I'm going to copy that over, paste it on the same exact side. I don't need two different settings on my left and right signal, so I'm just going to copy paste one.
I can't keep it lying to myself. I don't want you. I need you. No.
It's sounding really good. Now we can kind of give it a little bit of a modulation because we want it to, really kind of feel that wide, the furthest width you can get out of the vocal. And sometimes I apply a little bit of chorus.
I can't keep it lying to myself. I don't want you. I need you. Nobody else. I can't keep it lying to myself. I don't want you. I need you.
Now I'm going to put the vocal rider on here again. I want these to really kind of maintain balance I can hear it coming up higher and lower in certain sections. We really can't have that. It won't sound professional to the listener when you're hearing vocals cutting in and out. We want to keep that just as balanced as our main one. So make sure you're using the vocal rider here, and we're going to copy paste that again.
I can't keep lying to myself. I don't want you, I need you, nobody else.
I want to keep that below 0. I'm going to copy this one over here. Pretty much the same.
I can't keep lying to myself. I don't want you, I need you, nobody else. I can't keep lying.
Sounding a lot more balanced now. You guys can see what I'm doing. This is kind of a back and forth trial and error with the balance. You know, you need to make sure that that layer is not overtaking your main lead. That cannot happen. So let's go down to another layer she had. She had a harmony layer. Let's just take a peek at that.
I can't keep lying to myself. I don't want you.
Now harmonies are freaking cool, right? You can kind of get really creative with texture and kind of, you know, swagger to the vocal. It's going to be wicked cool if you have harmonies. So make sure you kind of push your vocalist with the creative side and see if they can give you a harmony layer to kind of mess with. So I'm going to take this harmony layer, and again, this is going to be very low in the mix. I'm just going to duplicate this real quick. And one of these I want to be 12, full octave higher. So I'm going to just go to my shift, and I'm going to put this all the way up 12 centi. Now that sounds crazy, right? Not that good alone, but that's the idea. We're now creating that really far in the back of the mix. This is where I apply reverb directly on the channel strap. I'm not bussing the reverb. I'm applying it directly to make it pretty much wet on top of the main vocal, but really quiet, mixed very, very low.
I need you, nobody else.
Now, if you go too high with this, you're obviously going to ruin everything. Your vocal's probably going to come back to you pretty upset. So really kind of, you don't always have to do this. This is something I do really subtle. I also do a full octave down. If the vocalist needs that little bit of low mid register, I'll do the exact same thing opposite.
I can't keep lying to myself. I don't want you, I need you. No.
Let's see how she's doing on pitch on this one.
I can't keep lying to myself. Don't want you, I need you, nobody else.
Now you guys can go into Melodyne as we did. I won't do that again. I don't want to waste your time here. You know exactly what you'd have to do. But if you want to speed it up, since it's a harmony or a backing layer, you can kind of get away with using Antares or some sort of pitch correction, you know, to speed up your process. That's up to you guys. I always take my time going into Melodyne or in the flex option in Logic, and I really detail each pitch and make sure it's dialed in. But for sake of time, let's just call that good. Let's bring the harmony way down in volume.
I can't keep lying to myself. I don't want you, I need you, nobody else.
And I'm going to make sure that layer is perfectly center, full mono.
I can't keep lying to myself. I don't want you, I need you.
Now guys, I know we haven't talked too much about timing. Your vocalist sometimes can be off timing, and that can be a real headache for you as a producer. So make sure you're also checking in on that. A lot of DAWs have a flex option. I know Ableton's is super awesome with the warp mode, but you know, with Logic, I can flex. You guys can detail. If you look right in, you know, for example, that loud spot here in the main lead, it's coming in sooner on the harmony. So we want to make sure that our timing is also dialed in. So I can kind of do this, make sure that's hitting pretty much close to that. Same thing over here. She's a little bit late on this one, so I can kind of make points here and I can bring this back.
I can't keep lying to myself. I don't want you, I need you, nobody else.
And make sure we're compressing that too. Let's put that through that vintage also.
I can't keep lying to myself. I don't want you, I need you, nobody else.
Now listen for that high end layer. It's sudden, right? It's very, very quiet, but it's adding value to the vocal, and something almost, almost me and you are going to notice, but it's going to bring value to the vocal. So make sure you're trying this out with the layering stuff. It can go a long way. Let's shoot over to the next step.